Video game journalism is something we've talked about quite a bit on our channel, and I'll tell you, I saw a video that I had to highlight on our channel just because it needs more love. This is a creator named Moriarty who has about 40,000 subscribers or so. This video is a long form video, about an hour and 44 minutes long. But we're going to highlight just about a 6-minute clip about the death of video game journalism, or at least the collapse of it. I encourage you guys to go check out Moriarty's channel, as well as if you're new, subscribe to our channel, hit the thumbs up button. We'd greatly appreciate that if you guys get any value out of what we're doing over here at Side Scrollers, the cure for common sense in the video game and entertainment world. Appreciate that. All right, so let's check this out. It's about 6 minutes long. We're going to go from here to here. Like I said, there's a long ass video, but I really wanted to highlight here because I think he nails a lot of really great points here. So let's check this out. This is the collapse of video game journalism.
In 2016, Philip Mewson, a rising star in gaming journalism, landed a coveted position at IGN. By 2018, his career imploded spectacularly when it was discovered he had been systematically plagiarizing content.
Yep.
This scandal isn't just about one man's ethical failure. It's a symptom of an industry so hungry for content, so pressured by deadlines, that such breaches become almost inevitable.
Yep.
Mewson's plagiarism scandal is just one crack in the foundation. To understand the full extent of the damage, we need to trace how gaming journalism evolved from a respected profession to its current compromised state.
It's really good points here right off the bat with Moriarty. The idea that there's always this constant need, this constant churn for more content. In a world of X, where in social media and Facebook or whatever, pick your social media du jour, you have the opportunity to be fed things consistently via an algorithm. And these bloggers, these journalists have to be kept up with that at all times. They have to be promoting, they have to be, and some have guidelines that they have to hit, a number of hits for their platform or their website, because at the end of the day, they have to generate money. That's why when you go to Kotaku, there's like 40 ads on a page. It's ridiculous. Let's continue.
Titans like OneUp.com fell silent, unable to compete in a landscape where video content reigned supreme. By 2024, even Game Informer, once a pillar of the industry, shuttered its doors.
Yep.
The old guard, those veteran journalists who once held the keys to gaming's kingdom, found themselves exiled to the digital wilderness of Patreon and Substack, desperately trying to forge direct connections with their dwindling audiences.
Can't compete.
In the beginning, there were magazines, sacred tomes filled with wisdom from on high. Their words were gospel, capable of determining a game's fate with a single review score. Then came the great digital migration with...
Now, before we get to the digital aspect of this, I think there's something to be said there. I think that going in and just saying, oh, magazines were awesome. Like, at the end of the day, we all know Nintendo Power was just a giant piece of marketing propaganda. And I would say that the video game magazines probably held way too much power if one review is going to make or break a game. And by the way, what he's saying is totally true, because we all saw with, like, I remember reading EGM and seeing what Sushi X had to say about, you know, whatever fighting game or whatever game was coming out. If it got a less than a 9 or an 8 or whatever, I was like, oh, you know, there was a lot of power when it came to video games. And if you don't think that those guys were getting wined and dined or told what to think or delivering talking points just like they do today, I mean, you're kind of ignorant, because I guarantee that stuff was happening.
Sites like GameSpot and IGN leading the charge. Suddenly, the line between pro-journalist and passionate fan became fuzzy. The rise of blogging in the mid-2000s threw gasoline on this fire of democratization. Anyone with a keyboard and an opinion could now throw their hat into the ring.
Yep.
This explosion of voices brought diversity, but also diluted the authority of traditional outlets.
Yes.
Against this backdrop, YouTube emerged as a game-changing platform. Initially gaining traction through Let's Play videos, it quickly became home to a diverse range of gaming content. This shift towards video represented a seismic change in how gaming information was consumed and produced, with personality-driven content becoming the dominant form of gaming media.
And I'll say this, I think that Screw Attack, you know, was a big part of that, if I'm being totally honest with you. Personality-driven content was what we did back at this time in the late aughts, early 2010s. And that's been very much followed to a T over here on YouTube, where everything is personality and everything is about authenticity. If you don't know, if you don't relate to the person that you're speaking to, it doesn't matter. It goes back to those magazines. I mentioned Sushi X, right? I had a connection with this Sushi X. Now, it later turns out that Sushi X was just a name for whoever. That's the funny story about that EGM with Sushi X was Sushi X was just a name for anybody who had a chance to review it. Sushi X was a number of different people as opposed to a singular person. But that's me being stupid and a kid. But it was pretty brilliant from their side. But yeah, man, 100%. The idea that this was everything is built around personality and personality-driven content, and that's totally changed the game.
This transition brought both opportunities and challenges. It allowed for more immersive and engaging ways to convey information about games. Viewers could see high-quality game footage, watch real-time reactions, and get a better sense of a game's atmosphere than ever before. I'm not saying this shift was all bad. There's something undeniably compelling about watching someone's real-time reaction to a jump scare or a plot twist. But there's a dark side to this personality-driven content. As viewers, we form parasocial relationships with these creators, often accepting their word as gospel. Critical thinking? Why bother?
Now, let me just say this. You touched about the parasocial relationships, and just to play counterpoint here, and we'll let him finish his thoughts here in just a second, but when you have a parasocial relationship, the idea is that people think of Markiplier in this case, or PewDiePie, or whoever they're watching do this Let's Play as their friend. It's their buddy that they hang out with on a day-to-day basis. And in IRL, right, if you have a friend who makes a suggestion about a game that you know they've played for 2 hours, 5 hours, whatever, and they tell you, hey, this game is good, this game is bad, this game is shit, whatever, then you're going to trust them. And it's, yes, there is an unsafe aspect to the parasocial relationship. But if both people are pretty sane, then it can be an okay thing.
With myriad voices competing for attention, it's increasingly difficult for viewers to discern fact from opinion or get balanced perspectives on complex issues.
Okay, but I'm sorry to keep stopping, but you go back to those magazines and the scores, that's still all opinion, right? So we'll just continue there.
Problem is exacerbated by YouTube's recommendation algorithm, which, as I've said, rewards controversy and outrage while burying nuanced analysis. The Musin scandal, while shocking, is just the tip of the iceberg. Consider the case of Nick Calandra, another figure whose career trajectory illustrates the ethical decay in gaming journalism. According to allegations from former colleagues, Calandra, who held prominent positions at outlets like Gamementary and The Escapist, repeatedly engaged in ethically dubious practices. He allegedly traded positive coverage for favors and job opportunities, manipulated content to align with personal biases, and kept staff in the dark about crucial business decisions. This pattern of behavior, reportedly replicated across multiple outlets, is a stark illustration of how the relentless demand for content and the blurring of lines between journalism and PR.
For the record, his screen is just black at this point. There is nothing going on.
Can compromise integrity. In an ecosystem that prioritizes personality cults over genuine critique, such ethical lapses become almost inevitable, further eroding the foundations of gaming journalism. These systemic issues don't just affect those at the top, they trickle down to impact everyone in the industry. The Game Explained.
Okay, so going back to Nick and the idea of like the unethical things that he's been accused of doing. I'm not going to say he did. I wasn't there. I don't know. But the things that he's been accused of doing, as far as more or less pay for play, the idea that we'll review your game if you advertise. We will give your game this if you spend this much money, or we'll give you this whatever, right? I think that is something that's been happening for a long time in the video game space. Tons of time. And it just comes down to a value proposition for these marketing companies, for these developers. The idea that if I can pay somebody X number of dollars and I can make X plus whatever number of dollars, then it makes sense. It's just, if I can pay somebody $1 and get $1.50 back in sales, then that's a good win for me. But to think that Nick's the only one doing it, obviously there's been many people who have done this along the way. Sorry. But It's a mess. And I think that's what Moriarty is hitting here, is that it's a very gray space when it comes back to reviewing and working with traditional quote unquote access media. And that's why, once again, why YouTube is what it is.
The debacle serves as a stark reminder of the grueling conditions these pressures create. The entire staff quit en masse, fed up with a system that expected them to produce videos with only 1 to 3 days of lead time. They were working overnight to play games, record footage, write reviews, and produce videos, all while maintaining relationships with game developers and securing review codes. Many were juggling these demands with other full-time jobs, since videos for Game Explain earned them a pitiful $1 to $2 an hour based on flat rates of $100 to $200 per review. The exodus led to the founding of Good Vibes Gaming.
Whoa. Let's take a step back. They're earning $100 to $200 per review. So you're saying they spend 100 to 200 hours on making a video? I mean, I do know a lot about content production. That shit smells, right? That doesn't sound right. If you're spending, I mean, that's including gameplay, game capture, editing, writing scripts. Okay, I'm going to take their word for it, but that does seem drastically low if you're making $100 to $200. Let's say it's 100 hours to do a review. I've done many reviews, and I don't think I've ever spent anywhere close to that fraction of the time. I mean, if you're doing an RPG, okay, maybe, but all right, I'm just saying, just from my personal experience.
An attempt to escape this exploitative cycle, and that's great. They managed to get out and make it work. But let's not kid ourselves, this is just one outlet, and their prior experiences at Game Explain is symptomatic of an industry where the relentless pursuit of content threatens to compromise everything we once held sacred. The erosion of journalistic integrity isn't limited to high-profile scandals or systemic pressures. It manifests in the day-to-day content that passes for gaming journalism. Take, for instance, a recent Kotaku article about a $250 Sonic X Shadow Generations Collector's Edition. What should be a critical examination of value and industry practices instead reads like a breathless press release. The writer, seemingly swept up in nostalgia, fails to question the exorbitant price tag or the industry's trend in exploiting fan loyalty.
Okay, that's actually quite interesting. Because what Moriarty is presenting here is what it should be. This is what it should be. But and I think that he does bring up some valid points that the article reads like a press release that they got. And chances are it probably was that. They probably went beat for beat down the line. Why? Because that's the easiest way to write an article. Like when you get I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience from people who have worked in this industry. I've been on both sides of it, guys. You need to understand that. When you get a press release, that is like getting gold. They're sending you free content. Here it is. Boom, 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 boom. Ready to go. Less work I need to do. And now I guarantee, I'm not going to make this accusation, but I am going to say this. It would be very easy for them to go in and take that press release, throw it into something like ChatGPT, have an article written like that in quote unquote their voice and publish it on a platform. Very easy. They see that as a very easy way to make money. And once again, you need content because you need advertisement. You need advertisement because you need revenue. You need sponsors because you need money, because you need money to pay these people you hired.
There's no analysis of whether the included items justify the cost, no broader context about the proliferation of overpriced collector's edition, and certainly no critique of the marketing machine driving these releases. Instead, we're treated to unabashed enthusiasm and thinly veiled product promotion. This isn't journalism. It's advertising masquerading as editorial content.
True.
The blurring of lines between critical coverage and marketing hype exemplifies how far the industry has fallen, when even Kotaku, an outlet once known for hard-hitting coverage, though now often dismissed as partisan and unreliable, produces such uncritical fluff pieces. It's clear that the prioritization of access and clicks over journalistic integrity has become the norm rather than the exception. In this environment, ethical lapses like Muson's plagiarism become almost laughably inevitable. While Muson's actions were his own, they highlight how the demand for constant content, the pressure to be first with reviews, and the need to generate views at any cost create a perfect storm for compromised integrity. Looking at the state of game journalism today, from plagiarism scandals to algorithmic pressures, we're forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. The industry has lost its way. The principles of journalistic integrity that once guided gaming coverage have been eroded by the relentless pursuit of views, likes, and engagement. And influence.
Okay, so that's really interesting. And he actually goes into influencer marketing and advertising associated with that. I encourage you to check out this entire video. I'll put a link to it down below as well as Moriarty's channel. But I'll say this about this. Now, you do need to remember that at one time, Kotaku was actually seen as a very reputable platform, very reputable, with really good journalism that happened. But over the last several years, there's been a shift in the direction of it that's been hijacked, as we've seen, by people who are tourists in the gaming space or enjoy video games, but also enjoy the activism in real life politics and then have that thrown in to it. But he brings up a lot of really good points in this and throughout the entire video. And I think what it really comes down to in a lot of situations, specifically when it comes to the journalistic aspect of it, is that these are companies that have to make money. And that's why there is value in someone on a Locals or a Patreon that is funded by their crowd. It allows them to speak truth. It doesn't put them on a set timeline that say, hey, I need to rush out 10 articles every day and hit X number of hits every day to have this much advertising every day. They can work on their own time. And that's why the proposition of the Patreon or Locals is that valuable, and why, channel memberships and such and being crowdfunded is paramount in today's society. Like when we do our show on a Monday through Friday, we do not run ads during our show. We'll occasionally have a sponsor, but we don't run ads mid-roll. We are losing thousands of dollars every month by not doing that. But we trust that we are ultimately funded by you to allow us to keep going and continue to speak truth to what we see on a day-to-day basis. And for that, we greatly appreciate it. With that said, it's a great video. I encourage you to check out all of Moriarty's entire video. Go subscribe to his channel. The link is down below. If you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button and join us over here. If you like common sense, if you have common sense, if you like video games, entertainment, if you're just a normal man, hit that subscribe button right here. Go watch another video right here.